Hi everybody, let me see. Am I live now? I hope I am. Okay, so welcome at my next Let's Explain A to Z series. And today I'm going to cover S for start. Now, maybe I should use S for sex, but we are talking about sex. So I'm going to use the word start to say, to use in this A to Z series in this session today. So I want to share 3 points with you that I feel is very important when we start and when we should start. So a lot of parents are really scared. They don't know when to start the conversation. They're afraid that the child will lose their innocence when they start the conversation. They don't know where to start and when to start. And there's a lot of questions about that. So let's jump in and I'm going to explain you the first one. And this is the most important one for me, actually, of the three, but maybe everything is important. But let's start by saying start with the end in mind. Now, that's really important. We need to start the conversation, but not just jump in blindly. We need to think about the bigger picture. There's more to the conversation than just giving the lesson of saying where does the body parts go and what are their functions and stuff like that. I sure when you want to talk to your child about that, that is one little part, but it's more about their decisions, healthy decisions, and all the dangers and the beauty of sex out there. So when we want to start to talk to our children about sex, we need to have the end goal in mind. That is really important. So when you ask this question, what is my end picture in mind? You need to be truthful with yourself and ask yourself, why do I want to talk to my child about sex? Is this really important? Is it important for me? All right. Or is it just one of those things that I need to do for my child? Like a checkbox. They read, check. They can swim, check. They can ride a bike, check. And I had the talk, check. Is that your attitude towards the talk? Or do you believe that there's a little bit more involved when it comes to talking to a child about sex? Now, I can tell you, your child's sexual decisions and your sexual decisions will catch up with you in the future. Now, I work here in South Africa in a practice here, and I can tell you how many stories I hear from regrets and wish I had and wish I didn't and wish I wish. And that's all in the past. And one of the things that I really hear a lot of times is saying, why didn't anybody tell me this? I wish I knew. And so it's important that we don't approach the talk or start the talk by just saying, I'm giving you the lesson, this is how the body parts work, and it's done and over with. No, we need to do a better job than that, especially if it's important for you what your values when it comes to sex and sexuality. Every parent has the privilege to talk to their child about sex, and this is something that you can do. And if you want to bestow your values on your child and not what the world is dictating or what people are dictating or the school or whoever's out there, if you want to teach your child your values, you need to step up and start the conversation, because that's where the beauty is. You have the power there to actually influence your child's decisions in the future. So I want you to think about that. Start with the end in mind. So when I say that, I want you to think in when you are looking back at this time, wherever your child is, a little toddler or a teenager, when you think about in 10, 20, or 30 years, where do you see your child ends up with relationships, with dating, with having grandchildren? Do you want grandchildren? Are you dreaming with your child about their future? So it's not all about just talking about the birds and the bees. It's about the decisions that they will make for the rest of their lives when they are making sexual decisions. So it's really important to start the conversation with the end in mind, because that's going to dictate how you're going to approach this. Because do you believe sex is an ugly, gross thing and just don't get pregnant, don't get an STD? Is that the way you're going to approach the talk when you start the conversation? If that is where you're going to start, then you're going to start really negative. So if you believe sex is beautiful, I believe sex is beautiful. It was made, it was God's idea. God created sex. And when we are using it for the purpose that God created it for. It's a beautiful thing in a relationship, and that's something that we can celebrate. But we need to start with the end in mind if we want to give that message. Otherwise, your message is going to be really negative and just say, don't get pregnant, don't get an STD, don't do sexting or any of these horrible things, and you just hope your child doesn't get involved in all of those things. And that's not what I want for our youth. We need to give them more reasons than that, just the negative. So first one, start with the end in mind. The second one is start where you are now, but start. So I know we feel that our child is too young, or I say a child is never too young. It's just we need to be strategic about it. We need to know what's age appropriate. And sometimes your child will be exposed in this day and age with things that are not age appropriate. And that's where we need to start the conversation where you are. Because if we're going to wait too long, they're going to be exposed to the things that you don't want to be. And then the conversation is going to turn extremely negative. So I get a lot of parents coming to me and they've got 6-year-olds, 8 years old children that's seen some pornography or things on the internet, on Instagram, or just on a WhatsApp or anything, or maybe on a YouTube or anything like that. In our digital age, our children are being exposed much earlier to negative things like pornography and things like that. And then we need to do damage control. And then we're not doing a good job in saying, let's start the conversation positively. So if you wanted to have a positive conversation with your child about sex, you need to start the conversation, and you can start positively, because then you can set your child up to say, listen, there might be negative things that you're going to see, but you are always welcome to talk to me. So when you are opening the doors to the conversation where your child is now, you will have the opportunity to guide them when negative things come their way. But we can start positively. Now, I don't have enough time in this session today to go in detail, but my Let's Explain Parent program, digital program, actually beautifully explain how to start positively. So, or maybe I'll keep that for one of our other sessions on our A to Z series. But I want you to start where you are. Now, I had a mother this week calling me, and she's got an 18-year-old daughter. And she said, now, I never had the talk with my daughter before, and I think it's maybe a good idea to start the conversation today, because she's got a boyfriend now, and I think it's a good thing to start the conversation. Now, with all due respect for this woman, in that moment, that your daughter already knows a lot about sex, an 18-year-old who does know about sex. But if you're going to jump in and say your boyfriend shouldn't touch here, touch there, I mean, you are not having a positive conversation. You are not empowering your child to make healthy decisions. It needs to be a process, a continuous conversation from very young till they reach their teenage years, so that they are prepared for whatever challenges they might face when a boyfriend or a girlfriend is challenging them with their values. So it's not just one conversation. We need to start where you are, and do not feel condemned if you feel it might be 18, it's too late. It's never too late. We're just going to need to do some damage control if there was negative experiences. If there's not, you take that opportunity and start there and open the door of conversation. Now, this is really important. It is not about your uncomfortability about the topic. It's about your child and your child's future. You need to step up and start the conversation, because your child really needs you to talk to them. Now, I talk to a lot of young tweens between the age of 10 and 12 when they start moving into puberty. And you won't believe the questions the children asks me. And they say, I can't ask my parents this. And they say, I really want to, but how am I going to approach my parents? So take that stress off your children, and you open the door to the conversation and say, listen, I was wondering, you're getting a little bit bigger. Have you ever heard the word sex before? So that is my third point. I want you to set yourself up to open the door to the conversation. Even if you feel uncomfortable, you need to open the door. So it's normally my first homework exercise for parents in my coaching program is to go and ask your child, even if he's 8, you need to ask him, have you heard the word sex before? All right. And your response to that answer is really, really important. If you're going to freak out and overreact, your child is going to say, oh no, this is a topic I can't discuss with my parents anymore. I will go and ask a friend or somebody else. So your response is crucial at this point. You can say, okay, well, that's interesting. Let's talk a little bit more about that. And then you open the door that you can see, your child can see, he's welcome or she's welcome to come and talk to you. That's really important. Now, you might feel that 8-year-olds is young, so you need to be sensitive to your child's knowledge and what they know. So if they say, no, I don't know what that means, you say, okay, now in English it's easy, it means a boy and a girl. So on a form you would say, what is your sex, male or female? All right, so you can just have that easy answer if they are still innocent and they don't know anything. Now, that just sets you up for the opportunity to further the conversation, but there's much more about that, obviously, than just boy and girl. All right, but because we ask, you can use it as an example to say, you remember when we had that gender reveal party where they said it was a boy or girl, what is the sex of the baby? That is what it is. So you can set it up like that, but if your child knows more, you need to go there and ask, what do you know? What do you don't know? What do you wonder about? You ask the questions and then you answer with confidence. If you don't not sure if you should answer or should not, you say, well, that's a good question. Let me go and find out, and we're going to talk next week about this, and be brave enough to bring up the conversation again and give them the right answer. So if you are scared, you are allowed to say, well, I can't answer that question to you now, but I will give you that answer. And then find the resources. That's why I created Let's Explain coaching program, that I can help parents to say, okay, what does your child know? Let's help him a little bit further and empower you to talk a little bit further. All right. So don't be afraid to say, well, I can't answer you now. That's okay. That's okay to say that. You get the information you want and then move forward on that. All right. So I want you to start the conversation. So all about today's is start. So the first one is start with the end in mind, meaning that you need to know, why do you want to talk to your child about sex? It's really important, because if you're listening to this, it is an important topic for you. It's not just a tick box, like I said, one of the things that you need to do. It's something that you want to embrace. Then start where you are. Doesn't matter where your kids are, start the conversation. Open the door for communication between you and your child. That's really important. And then the third one is ask your child. Start by asking, have you heard the word sex before? Now, I quickly said just now how you can start when they are really young, but there's a little bit more to that. And you can reach out to me. I'll put my details here in the at the bottom. Reach out to me. I can help you where you are with your child at the moment. Maybe they know a lot. Maybe they don't know anything. You don't maybe know what they know. And that's the place where we can start. Let's just find out what they know. And then we can move forward. And that's the power of the question. Have you ever heard the word sex before? Because then you can determine what they know. Because we are all basing our things on assumptions. They are too young. They don't know anything. They shouldn't know anything. Well, every child is unique and everybody has their own experience. So let's start where we are at the moment. So thanks for listening today. I'll put in my details in the description below. You are welcome to join my Let's Explain coaching programs. I have a coaching groups where I coach through groups in Zoom session where there's a few parents that I coach together through the coaching program. You can sign up to the digital program. There's a few options. You can have one-on-one coaching depending on your situation. So you're welcome to reach out to me. I'm there to help. Thanks so much. Bye.